Hi everyone. So, welcome to the class. In the last class we started with text analysis. So, and I tried to explain you what is text analysis and what is the importance of text analysis. Now, as I said in the last class, if you remember, text analysis is a very powerful tool today for all researchers and even people from the company, the managers and all, because it helps you to understand the text, the content which is available around us, right. So, for example, when we look at reviews, right, customers reviews, when we look at blogs, or we look at customer some Twitter threads, right. So, we learned that there is so much of data around us, right, and this data is not a waste, it is a very useful data, and this data is in fact, so to some extent if you see, is more real and more honest than sometimes the survey data that we collect, right, because there in the survey data, for example, some kind of bias might also be there, but in the text data, whatever the consumer or the customer or the person is writing, it is more or less a very honest truth, right. There is hardly any fabrication or any manipulation in that. So, that is why sometimes text data is a very rich data and very useful data. In the last class we also discussed that how text data is being used by companies nowadays. For example, let us say a company wants to develop a new product, right. So, on what basis will it develop? So, to understand the basis of development of a new product or service, it has to understand what are the initial challenges that it might face, what are the problems it might be able to solve for the people, and what existing products are doing at the moment. So, all these things are available because customers are continuously giving feedbacks, and these feedbacks or these discussions that are found in the social media or any text data as a form of text data is highly useful, right. So, we learned that text analysis is a very powerful tool, right, and we understood that it involves a series of steps to extract these meaningful insights from the unstructured text data, because obviously the data that you have is a unstructured data, right. So, data from let us say Twitter, data from Instagram, or data from a all the written material in a newspaper article, anything in a book, in any document, any marketing research report, all this data are basically unstructured data. Now, why it is important that you should structure it? Because what is your objective of research, or what do you want to, for example, a text report can be used by a finance manager for understanding the financial values of a company or financial situation of a company. A marketing manager can use the same text marketing report of a company for some marketing insights, right. Similarly, a human resource manager can use the same text for understanding its human resource policy of the company. So, what I am trying to say is that one document might have multiple information, right, and what is your objective of the study, that matters, and accordingly you would like to clean the data and use the data, right. So, these steps that we talk about include text representation. So, when you are doing a text analysis, as you can see in this picture, right. So, you have several important things, but before that we will try to understand what is this text representation, right. How do I extract the data? Now, the data is there, right, we say data is there on the social media, but how do I extract the data, right. It is not so easy, because otherwise what you are doing is manual. So, manually you can't do. So, to make it more sensible, you want that this data could be extracted in a meaningful way and a large volume of data can be extracted. So, what is that possible way that I can use? So, that is the most biggest first challenge first. Then once I have collected the data, then the other techniques are simple, because then I can go for data cleaning and data analysis and interpreting and validating the data. But and finally, obviously, it is used for decision making. But the question is, data extraction itself is a challenge. If somebody can give you data, then it is very simple, because if you are a marketing research expert, you can analyze the data, but what about collecting the data? So, that collection and extraction of the data is very important. You see, for example, several times we do research from secondary or from secondary sources, or even from available some websites and all. So, when we are collecting, for example, you want to know about the political equation or the political condition of a country, let us say at this moment political condition of India. So, you can go to some YouTube videos, or you can go to some sites like Twitter, and look at what people are talking about the political situation, what is their opinion. So, all the different opinions, feedbacks, responses, you can collect it, right. Similarly, you can go to YouTube videos, and below the videos you must have seen certain comments, right. So, you can collect those comments also, and maybe you can collect such kind of comments, maybe thousands of comments, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 comments, and you can arrange these comments, and then what you can do is you can try to make a meaningful, create a meaning out of it, try to extract a meaning out of it, right. This meaning that you will extract will be useful for, is a part of your analysis and interpretation of the data, right. But if you see, like any text analysis process or any data analysis process, the process remains more or less the same, right. For example, in a quantitative research data also you are having a similar approach, right. So, here we start with problem identification or identification of the need of the problem, right. So, problem identification or any challenge that somebody is facing. So, what is the problem or the need, right. So, identification of that is the first thing in any research. So, for example, as I said, the understanding the political situation, or suppose for example, a company wants to invest in India, let us say a mining company wants to invest in India, and it wants to know what is the people's opinion, right, in that particular location where it wants to set up its mining operations. So, it wants to understand that. So, what it does is maybe it can start some discussion on the social media, or it can collect look at existing comments of people, what they have spoken about mining in that area, how mining is affecting their life, or mining is good, it is giving them employment, or it is giving them job, livelihood, or it is taking away their resources, minerals. So, there could be different kind of opinion people must be giving, right. So, all this opinion, this is, you see, you have to understand, it is as simple as that you are talking with someone in a very leisure way, but whatever you are talking, generally we are trying to, we forget it. But here we are saying that whatever you are talking or you are writing in a text format, in that is a social media discussion only, that itself is a rich data, right. So, first you have to identify your problem, as I said about the mining issue example. After that, what happens? You need to collect your data. So, before that, identify the source of data. Now, what are the sources of data? So, there can be different sources. So, as I said, so once you collect the sources of you understand the sources of data, then the third step you go for is to collect the data. Now, I have understood the sources of data, that like social media, my reports, government documents, whatever they are, right. So, once you have done that, then you collect the data, and then you clean and go for text pre-processing. Now, we have not gone text processing, we have gone for text pre-processing. So, cleaning of or purifying the data is a very important challenge, as I have also mentioned in the earlier slide, my classes during quantitative analysis. So, cleaning or purification of data, for example, there you are checking for linearity, you are checking for normality of the data, whether the data is behaving properly or not. Here also you have to clean the data, because there might be some unnecessary elements in the data. So, which are not required. For example, in a page of, let us say, in a 3-page document or a 4-page document, there might be certain words which are not relevant to you at all, they are completely out of sync or out of context. So, these kind of things are not required. So, cleaning the text and going for a pre-processing is very important. After that, then next is what you do. Now, you have a clean data in hand, then you will go for specific techniques. For example, you may go for understanding the mood of the people. So, what is the sentiment of the people? For example, in the same mining case, now some people, let us say you have taken 10,000 customer or discussion data points, right. Now, so out of this 10,000, maybe some people were positive, some people were negative, that no, mining should be stopped, banned, mining is bad, mining is killing our people, killing our environment. So, this kind of discussions might be there. Some people might be saying, well, it is bad, but still it has given us livelihood, job, so it is good for us, our children are getting job, our people are getting job. Earlier we were not finding any livelihood sources, so that can also be there. So, the sentiment of the people, what kind of sentiment are they having, is a very important data for us, or a interpretation for us. So, if we understand, if the mining company understands that a lot of people feel favorable, that if mining starts in a big way, they will get benefit, then the company can go for initiating its mining operation. But suppose it feels that there is a lot of resentment, people are hating it or they are not liking it, then they might think about it, because after all the decision will be they will have to spend lot of money, capital. So, all this will go become a waste if the sentiments of the people are negative. Then you can do something like topic modeling, right, cluster analysis. So, you are trying to identify the major topics. So, for example, in as I said in the 10,000 reviews, maybe major topics you want to see, what are the major topics people are talking about. So, maybe people are talking about nature, people are talking about river getting dirty or whatever, river, let us say the topic is river, or let us say livelihood, or let us say health, diseases. So, what are the basic topics people are talking about in those 10,000 reviews or some large newspaper articles. So, all these are text only, no. So, they are text. So, this text, when I am trying to identify, create different topics and try to cluster them, so that gives me a very meaningful insight. Okay. Then we go for text classification and summarization. So, finally, what we do is at the end of the day, every researcher would try to classify the data, right. So, text classification is also similarly done. So, you classification is done to classify this comes under which category, right. This comes under some, let us say your category that you have made is positive, or let us say it is livelihood related, or it is nature related. So, many things can come and you can classify all this into nature, or you can classify all this into a group of things into livelihood. So, you can text classify the and summarize the text. So, this is basically what you do in a text analysis process. So, as I said, first you start with problem definition. Now, defining the problem is a crucial step in text analysis. So, it involves identifying the goal of the analysis, understanding the nature of the text data and determining the techniques required to achieve meaningful insights. So, a well defined problem ensures clarity in approach. Now, what is your problem? For example, let us say somebody says the mining company, again I will compare the same example, the mining company says what is the problem? Now, the problem is that we had let us say initiated our mining operations, but somehow we have not been successful. Now, why you have not been successful? What was the challenge? Now, the problem here is that we do not know, but people are not supporting us. Okay. So, now the question is, let us say they want to identify why people are not supporting them. So, maybe this is a very clear thing that they want to achieve. So, a well defined problem ensures clarity. So, obviously, when your problem definition is clearly defined, you have a clarity in your mind and your approach, your objective will be well defined and you will have a very clear way of instructions, right. So, you will not move here and there, you will not beat around the bush, you will have very clear path to work. Okay. And then obviously, you will select the right method accordingly and you will interpret the result in a better way, which otherwise you would not have done. So, most important thing in research, as it is always mentioned, is identification of problem, the most important thing, right. They say if you have identified your problem well, then most of your job is done, right. Your almost 25% of your job is surely done, right. So, problem identification or problem definition is the most important thing. So, in the same way here also you need to understand what is your problem, right. Now, my market, sometimes I say in my earlier classes also I have said, you do not confuse between problem and symptoms, right. So, symptoms can be sometimes, for example, sales is falling, is it a symptom or a problem? It might be a symptom, right, because sales is falling, your profits are declining, they are symptoms that there is something wrong. But what is actually the problem? The problem is that people are not liking my product, people are going against my mining operation, right. So, that is my problem, but what is the consequence of it? Now, the symptom is that the sales is falling, I am not getting enough workforce to join my mining company, right. People are not willing to join, or they are resisting they are making dharnas, strikes and all. Okay. Then after you identify, then go for text data collection. So, text data collection involves gathering text based information from various sources to extract insights, perform sentiment analysis or train the machine learning models. See, when we are talking about text analysis, you could have done that manually also. Suppose I give you feedbacks of people. So, let us say a teacher is teaching 30 students in a class elective, right, and 30 students have given their feedback. So, the teacher did not do any any analysis through a computer or anything, any machine learning approach is not required here, because 30 is a very small size, you can read one by one and interpret what is the view of my students. But suppose let us say Big Bazaar or let us say Walmart is trying to is taking feedback of people that how do you feel when you visit our store, right. Now, here every day let us say 10,000 people or 5,000 people have come, and in a month let us say it is multiplied by 30. So, let us say 1,50,000 data is points are there, feedbacks are there. Now, would you do that manually? Impossible. So, here you need to train your machine or create machine learning models, so that you can collect the data easily and then interpret also easily, because otherwise you think 1,50,000 feedbacks, how much space and time it will take, how cumbersome it will look if you put it physically somewhere. So, that is the thing that you have to train your machine in a way that it tries to understand. Earlier this was not there. So, that is why people were only and only talking about quantitative data analysis, and when they were going to for qualitative or such kind of things, they were going for very small approaches. For example, trying to work on a company as a case study method, or understanding 20-30 people's opinion views by talking to them, taking their interviews, feedback. So, that is, but today you are well blessed with machine learning techniques, ML techniques, that you can take data of maybe millions of feedbacks, right. Why ask like we used to do FGD, for focus group discussions. Now, in that we used to talk to 8 to 10 people. Now, why 8 to 10 people? Today I can talk to 80,000 to maybe lakh of people and take their feedback on a particular product. For example, what do you feel about earlier, let us say there was a social media backlash on Fair and Lovely, right. So, they made it Glow and Lovely something, right. So, how did they realize it? How did Unilever recently dropped the word normal from some of its products, all of its products in fact, normal, the word normal. Now, how did they learn that normal is not the right thing? Now, they did two things. One, they did a survey and they found that people did not like the word normal, because they felt normal is not a good word, they did not want to get associated with. And the second thing was, when they looked at social media data, all the social media kind of analysis, feedbacks, the Twitter threads and all, they found that people were talking negatively about it. So, both the things, the quantitative data and the qualitative data, both converge to the same point. So, they dropped the word normal from their products, right. So, text data collection tells you to how to train your understand, perform sentiment analysis, train your machine learning models. The effectiveness of this text analysis largely depends on the quality, relevance and diversity of the collected data. See, everywhere it is the same, whether it is quantitative research or qualitative research. What kind of data you have, the effectiveness of the data is very important, because that is what will come out as an output, right. So, what comes in will go out, right. So, that is why if your data is of high quality, then your inference drawn will also be much better. So, when you are talking about, if you look at here is, so data collection, so data quality assessment. So, what is the quality of the data? Now, diversity check. Now, are you talking, let us say when you are talking about data collection, let us say, are you only looking at one group of people, or you are taking a diverse group of people's opinion, right. So, if you do not take a diverse group of people's opinion, maybe your entire research is biased. Then let us say I will take all opinion of people only below the age group of 25, right. Then maybe my study is biased, then I am not understanding what people of 45, 50 years, 55, 60-year-old people think. So, my study is biased then, or let us say in community biased also, I may be talking to only the South Indians, I did not talk to North Indians, then there also I am biased. So, diversity check is also important. And finally, you go for a data analysis approaches, right. So, after data collections, what are the sources of text data? As I have already said it number of times. For example, just you can have a look now, marketing research reports, web and blog contents, right, chatbot and support logs, online platforms, social media platforms, email communications, right. All these are your rich sources of text data. Okay. The next thing that we talk about is the most important thing is text representation. Now, what is text representation? Now, let us understand first. Now, text representation refers to the process of converting text data into a numerical format that can be understood and processed by computers. That means what? Here we are saying, see, we cannot give the directly the text to the computer. No, the computer will not accept it, it will not understand anything. So, what is the right way of giving the data or the text to the computer? What is the right way of representing the text in front of the computer, because the computer will not understand like you and me. So, but we need the help of the computer, because machines only can handle such large volumes of data. So, text representation refers to the process of converting this text data into a numerical format that can be understood and processed by the computers. It is a crucial step in text analysis, right. It is a very important step. Without this, it will not work even, right. And natural language processing, NLP, right, processing techniques, for example, are very helpful here, because machine learning algorithms and computational models work with numerical data rather than the raw text. So, because a machine is not trained to read a raw text. So, it will only understand, as you have seen certain examples also, for example, it divides into 1 0 kind of things. So, the machine will only understand numerical data. So, that is why it has to be represented clearly. Now, effective text representation captures the structure, the meaning and context of the text, right, while preserving the information needed for downstream tasks such as classification, clustering and sentiment analysis. So, a effective text representation is a very important thing, right. But how does the machine, how do you do that, how it is done, right. So, only a few examples I have given here. For example, the representation can be in terms of word level representation. So, what does the computer do? So, how does it takes word by word, right. So, if suppose you have a one paragraph, let us say, or a one page of write up. So, every word is separated, right, and then the next step, so we will know about how it is analyzed and all. First thing is, it will go by word level representation. So, divided word by word, okay. Or it can be on sentence and document representation. So, sentence representation, for example, each sentence is broken down into a separate entity, right, or character level representation. So, every character is represented, divided by the computer separately. So, it separates them. There are different methods, right. What is the right way? How do you choose the right representation? What is the best way? So, the choice of text representation depends on specific task. For example, you see, for tasks like text classification or sentiment analysis, TF, IDF or BERT embeddings are commonly used. So, do not worry, we will do all these things slowly, you will get familiar with these terms also slowly, because the more you read, you will get more familiar. Initially, I was also not very familiar, but I had spent a lot of time on this. For language modeling or machine translation, contextual embeddings like GPT, BERT are preferred. Okay. For simpler problems with small data sets, bag of words or one hot coding encoding may also be good enough. Okay. So, different ways of representing the text is there, right. So, as I said, when you talk about text representation, assigning numerical, two things are important: assigning numerical values to the data. So, text representation involves assigning numerical values to the data, so that it can be processed by the machine learning algorithms. So, we have already discussed enough that machine will not understand. So, we need to give them, represent them in the form of a numerical value, right, so that it can understand it better and analyze it better. The second thing is common methods. Now, common methods include bag of words, right, and term frequency, inverse document frequency. So, TF IDF, here also you had seen, no, TF IDF, right. So, other methods are like word embedding also. So, these are the common methods. So, the machine can can sense, the data can be represented, or the text can be, here text and data are more or less the same thing, right. So, because our data is in form of text only. So, the common methods are very much used, and we will look at them very descriptive or explicitly, slowly we will go into that. So, these are the two ways of text representation. Okay. The next thing is text or feature or data extraction. Now, when you talk about feature extraction, now what does it say? Feature extraction or data extraction involves applying text mining techniques to the structured data to extract insights. Now, you have already, let us say, you found your source of data, you collected your data. Now, the question is, you did text representation, then now what you are doing? You are using the structured data. So, now you have a structured data, and that means the data is more or less a clean data, right. Now, you will use it for extracting insights. Okay. So, what are the common methods which are used? Now, common methods are, for example, sentiment analysis. Now, the most important or most talked about thing is sentiment analysis, topic modeling and name entity recognition. Now, what is name entity recognition? I will explain that here only. So, let us go one by one. So, sentiment analysis. Now, what it is saying? If you can see those faces, some crying, some smiling, some laughing, like emojis you have. So, it analyzes the text to determine emotional tone and opinion. Now, when I am saying about the mining case, right. So, people may say, no, everything is good, but our trees are getting, we are losing our trees, right. Our jungles are getting cut, our rivers are getting dry. So, and our temperature is rising here. So, that means what? The tone is not favorable, right. The tone is negative in this case for the problem which is mining operations. Okay. So, classifying the content as positive, negative or neutral. So, sometimes you must have seen people, they are neutral. So, they do not give either a positive or a negative opinion. So, they are more or less in between, right. So, whatever it is, but neutral is also important. You have to understand how many people are explicitly positive, how many people are explicitly negative and how many people are neutral. So, they do not want to be in any direction, right. And then suppose somebody is positive also, how strongly positive or how strongly negative, that also matters, because somebody, I may say I do not like it, but it is okay, but somebody might say no, I do not like it, you have to throw it out. So, the tone is different, right. So, sentiment tells you that what kind of tone it is there, what is a positive, negative sentiment or what it is, right. Topic modeling identifies the patterns and themes within documents by clustering related terms and concepts together. So, when you were doing cluster analysis, when I taught you cluster analysis, what did we do? We said first hierarchical clustering, we will identify the number of clusters and then we will go for k-means clustering or non-hierarchical clustering, in which we will tell what are the characteristics of the cluster. So, each cluster has its characteristics, right. So, here what it says, in a topic modeling, it identifies the pattern and themes within the document. So, there is a document, let us say a marketing research report or a government, a white paper, right. Now, here it would cluster the related terms. Now, what are the related terms? For example, politics, election, let us say vote bank, let us say voters, let us say constituency, they are all one cluster, right, because they are all related to political themes. Something else, for example, let us say road, infrastructure, bridge, these are all different cluster, because they are all maybe in the same document, they are a different group of topics. For example, they are into infrastructure, for example, they are related to all infrastructure. Maybe the politician might have said something, or the political party might have talked about what infrastructure developments they have made or they will be making in the future. So, this is a different topic. The third could be talking about, let us say religion, for example, we are talking about presently the Kumbh Mela going on. So, Kumbh Mela, Bhakti, the God, goddesses, the mandals and the Rishi Munis, the Naga Babas. Now, that is a different cluster. So, different topic. So, this is how the topic modeling works. The third is named entity recognition. Now, it automatically identifies and classifies key elements like names, organizations, location and dates within the text, right. So, let us see now, for example, like my name. So, let us say Ratan Tata. Now, Ratan Tata is a very, it will try to identify such kind of entities, right. So, or let us say a company like Reliance, okay, or let us say some location, let us say Bombay, Mumbai, okay, or dates within that, or let us say price of a product. So, these are all different entities within the text. Now, the machine will try to recognize this. Okay. Then what you do is data analysis and interpretation. So, data analysis and interpretation, it says, involves examining the extracted patterns, trends and insights to develop meaningful conclusions. So, this is the last part, right, where you have analyzed the data. Now, your job is to interpret the data. So, the data, suppose the mining company now wants to learn, we have extracted enough data, let us say, right. Now, what do we do with this data? Now, let us say we will try to create some patterns. Now, what are the patterns? Now, different kind of patterns are emerging. What are the trends? The trend could be very supportive, very negative, very helpful, not so helpful. So, different kind of insights can be generated from the data. So, this will help them to take a proper decision in the future, should they invest in this place, should they start their mining operations in a big way, or they should keep it as it is in a slow way, or they should completely stop this. What should they do? So, this is what helps you in. And finally, data visualization also. So, data visualization also is a part of the data analysis only and interpretation, because it nothing but it gives you techniques to present the findings in a more clear and concise manner. So, with some tables, graphs and all, it will help you to understand that how does it look, because you see that there is a saying, a diagram speaks 1000 words or something, you know. So, if you can show a picture shows explains more than 1000 words, something like this it is said. So, if you can show something in a visualization or a graphical pattern or some pictorial way, it is very easy to understand. It is very easy to understand. So, you do not need to read so much, right. So, that improves your clarity. And like any research study, the last part is validation, right. So, in when you are doing quantitative analysis also, you are talking about validity of the data and reliability and validity of the data. So, in that we are talking about different kinds of validity tests, for example, face validity, content validity, convergent validity, discriminant validity, there is a lot of validity tests, right. Here also we will talk about validation, because without validating the data, how will you say the research is correct or not, right. So, two things: ensure accuracy, right. So, ensuring the accuracy and reliability of the mining results, right, through systemic validation checks and quality control measures. So, what it says? So, first you ensure accuracy. Now, that the data is reliable and valid. Okay. So, or you can say valid and reliable, both ways, right. So, first you did a validity check and then whether the data is reliable or not. Now, how would you do that? Let us say you have done some data analysis, text data analysis, right. Now, you have got some result. Let us say you took about, you know, how the stores, for example, Big Bazaar or Walmart, what people feel about when they enter the store or they exit the store, or how they navigate through the store. Now, after doing that, you found that there is some, let us say 1,50,000 data per month, right, and you analyzed it, right. Okay, fine, and you got some interpretation, some analysis, some result out of it, fine. Now, what you do is you pick up randomly out of this 1,50,000, you pick up randomly maybe 1% or 10% or 2%, whatever, right, or say it is only 200 or 150 data points, okay, and you give it to 250 and 150, let us say two different people, right, and ask them to go through this feedbacks and comment and look at the final result that has come, the inference that has been drawn, is it coming accurate or not. Got my point? Example, let us say, again let me explain. Let us say the result after, you know, analyzing 1,50,000 reviews or feedback of people, you have come to the conclusion that people who visit the store, they feel very happy, they are very happy with the color, sound, and they have no issues at all, and they like the products and they like the price, everything. Okay. So, when you take 150 or 100 or 200 data points and you give it to a person and you say, please go check it and see if it really, you know, means what the final conclusion has come. Now, the person can individually check. Suppose in the while looking at the individual reviews, he finds that the review says here there is a lot of problem with this store, the store does not have parking space. So, how did it then that is not matching with the final conclusion that they had drawn earlier from the 1,50,000 reviews. Or let us say another review is coming which is saying, you know, the extremely priced products in this store. So, I could not buy anything, I did not like to buy, then again it is not converging. So, to check whether the result is accurate, validated, it has to be validated and it has to be checked for reliability. So, this is how you do it. Okay. And the next is evaluate performance, evaluating the performance of the text mining models using comprehensive metrics and benchmarking tools. So, finally, you look at these two things, so and you validate your research study. Okay. Obviously, when you have done those validation, the data is used for various purposes. So, it helps you to create different insights and decision making. So, you may optimize your social media, for example, you know, transforming the derived, what it says, optimizing social media means transforming the derived insights into actionable strategies to optimize social media data and usage. So, you can optimize your social media data, you can use it in a better way, you can use frequently so that better decisions can be taken and your social media presence can be improved or it can be increased, right. Similarly, it can also help you in product improvement. So, you have learned through, let us say, by crunching the data, analyzing the data, that your product needs has certain requirements. So, where it can be improved. So, you can do that improvements, right, because it is after all the feedback of the people only. So, which is generally we say in operational terms, we say it is voice of customer. So, the voice of customer is already given to you and you have analyzed the such kind of large pool of data. So, it can help you to improve that product in a certain manner, maybe in terms of design, functionality or anything, and finally also improve the customer support. So, leveraging text mining insights to enhancing customer support. So, what kind of support? For example, let us say B2B machine, a B2B industry or a industrial machine company. Now, it is selling a huge machine, a large machine. So, what kind of supports it requires? So, there can be several kind of supports and some are very important for the customers. So, if the company does not understand them well, then that may create a problem, or you can say it can easily create a differentiating factor, that it can be a better in terms of service in comparison to the competitors by understanding those customers issues. So, and can improve the customer support, because in industrial oriented companies we have seen maintenance and service is the most important differentiating factor. Okay. These are some examples. So, Indian companies using text analysis for product development. So, Zomato for example utilizes text analysis to process customer reviews and feedback on their platform, and by analyzing sentiments and extracting the key themes from user comments, they can enhance their restaurant recommendation and improve overall user experience. So, you know how Zomato works, right. Ola similarly has implemented text analysis to analyze customers interaction and feedbacks across the various channels. It has helped them to identify the pain points in their service. So, what are the pain points? What are the customers' problems, right? Allowing for targeted implements in their app and overall service, because you see sometimes those apps are already, when an app is made, after it is constantly developed, it is trained and the algorithm is improved and it is developed, so that the bugs are removed from it, right. How does it happen? Now, by understanding this, so the company now has allowed for targeted improvements in their app and overall service offerings, right. So, Indian companies also use text analysis for financial risk mitigation. So, financial challenges, if you can see, so understanding for example, whether the company should go for a dividend policy, bond issuing of bond or something, or what kind of what kind of image in the market they have in terms of their financial policies, they can all be understood through a proper text analysis. HDFC Bank employs text analysis to monitor customer feedback and social media sentiment, which helps them identify potential risks related to customer dissatisfaction or fraud. So, all these are different examples for companies which have used for product development and all, how they have gone for it and how did they analyze the data. They did not do any survey for it, right. So, they use this social media. So, sometimes one might think, will this be an alternative? So, that is a separate question altogether, that can text analysis replace completely quantitative analysis or survey or something? No, it is nothing like that, but they have their own benefits and we should always think about convergence of the knowledge. For example, the result that you derive from a qualitative analysis or a text analysis, if it converges with a result that you have derived from a survey or a quantitative analysis or something, then that is a very rich study and it is highly validated. Okay. So, with this we will wind up today's lecture. In the next lecture we will continue, right. Till then, take care. Thank you very much.